Let Leta take you on a journey of faith, life, travel, and interior design. Take your life out of the status quo. Status Life with Leta is brought to you by Status Home Design and the shops at Status, and by the law office of Derek M. Hayes at 404-777-HURT.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Status Life with Leta on Business RadioX. We are broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio in the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel. Leta has over 20 years working as an interior designer. She's now a full-fledged lifestyle expert, podcaster, and blogger. Status Life with Leta will take you on a journey of faith, life, travel, and interior design. Leta's mission is to bring her knowledge and fun teaching ability to help each of us design a life we love. My name is Derek Hayes, and I'm the host of the show, and it's my pleasure to introduce the star of the show, Miss Leta Brooks. Good afternoon, Leta.
Good afternoon. Hi.
We're celebrating today.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is going to be a really fun show. So we are in studio currently toasting with champagne. Yay! Did everybody hear it?
I'm sorry, I was taking a sip break there.
I know, right? Oh, I've never drank during one of our shows, especially, right. Yeah. So I've done a lot of lives. I do the live sales at night, and sometimes we'll drink wine for that, especially if we're selling wine glasses or, something related to wine, but I've never done this during the day.
Well, it's great, though. We're celebrating big time.
We are celebrating. So this is the 1-year anniversary of the show.
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah.
So
There's
exciting.
the crowd.
Yes.
It's not a live studio audience. Well, it's somewhat of a live studio audience.
That's right. We're not by ourselves here today. So,
well, before we begin,
yes.
A quick reminder that Status Life with Leta is brought to you by Status Home Design, your one-stop shop for all your home and gift needs, the Status Market, your online shopping experience, and the law office of Derek M. Hayes. Injured in Georgia? Make the right call to the law office of Derek M. Hayes at 404-777-HURT. There it goes. Yeah. how many champagne bottles are we going to pop today?
I did bring a few.
Well, we've had 26 shows.
No, 27 shows.
This is the 27th.
Oh, okay. This is the 27th.
So 27 bottles of champagne to
I didn't bring that much.
Oh, okay.
No, we wouldn't be able to get home after that. But no, this is exciting, and I can't express my gratitude to all the listeners and friends and everyone out there who responds with questions and all the feedback I get. Thank you so much for all the love and support. This has, I haven't checked the numbers, but a few shows ago, I was creeping up on 2 million.
It's over 2 million.
Yeah. So you guys, that's amazing. That's what we're sitting here celebrating. This is a teaching platform. This is a storytelling platform for me, for Status Life with Leta. And it's just amazing to me how many people I'm able to touch and help. And whether we're teaching design styles. I had someone call me last night, and it was about the weight loss. And they said, can you please do another weight loss segment? Your last one inspired me so much, and I'm having trouble. And I said, then go back and listen to the last one. And they did. So these shows that live forever, that's the point. They are helping so many people.
Along those same lines, if you look at the numbers for the actual shows, the 26 shows you've done so far, your first show still has more numbers each week you look.
Sure.
So even those, at the very beginning, all those shows still have additional downloads, which is great. So like she said, if you've not caught all the shows, we strongly encourage you to go back and listen.
Oh, absolutely.
There's some terrific information in there.
Every show, and they're different in topic, and yet they all tie together, and we've done different series, and even talking my most favorite, I guess I'm prompting my own question here, and maybe I'll ask you this as a question. I was thinking what my most favorite show has been in the past year. My favorite was Stolen Cake, and the book review that we did, the book itself was so touching, brought me to tears. It's truly my family, but not that it takes the importance of the book. It hit you because it was the journey of what happened with your mother, and so many people have read it and taken away from that show elder care and specific to Alzheimer's. But for some reason, that show to me, I have loved every single one of them. But out of the whole year, that was my favorite.
Well, since you put me on the spot, and I've been on the spot quite a few times in your shows, the hot seat, I would have also picked that one. But since you picked it first, I'll pick a different one. I'll say last week because I enjoyed the fact we got to talk about you a lot.
It
And
wasn't about me. You said
and
that
our
last week.
relationship.
It's not about me. It's about us. Derek always takes the spotlight off and
I put it on
puts
you.
it right on me.
Of
And that's
course.
super sweet, and I love him for it. But no, we were talking about our relationship, and the feedback from that was really overwhelming.
I got some
I
too,
get a
right.
lot of DMs and I get a lot of messages. But on this one, I decided to build an entire show just around the questions and the feedback from the last show.
Speaking of which, we do have a great show today. So you want to go ahead and tell everybody about that? Go a little deeper with what we're
Sure.
doing?
All right, let's go into this. So we had tons of response to the show where we began to unpack our relationship, right? Now you may say, if you're catching this show, like, okay, what's so great about that? Of course, Derek and I are a couple. We began to tell our story, and I knew it was going to resonate with a lot of people, and it did. Unfortunately, well, I mean, I guess it's fortunately for us, but unfortunately, we are like 50% of Americans in that we are both divorced. And I do hate that statistic, and I hate that word even more. I still, after being divorced, I just don't like that word.
I understand.
I there's just a lot of
It's a negative
negativity around that word,
connotation that
right?
comes with it.
But the good news is, listen to this. The rate dropped in 2020 from 50% to only 39%.
Well,
that's just here in the United States. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There became a more focus on the relationship, I guess.
Here's what I have a theory.
Okay.
Okay. So researchers, this is what I read. Researchers think this is because of the pandemic. Studies show being quarantined with your spouse made people appreciate your spouse more.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, well, Derek, you're an attorney. I'm literally sitting here with an attorney, and I have a suspicion that it's because the courts were closed for most of 2020.
Yes, and certain things were not proceeding as usual.
I'm not
hearings and
sure
trials and-
that the poll took that into account. I don't. People appreciate each other more. I don't know. It's going to be interesting because people actually, they couldn't get divorced.
Right,
I have a
right.
lot of friends, middle-aged. That's the age bracket I'm in. I'm in the middle. And I have friends right now all going through divorces. They're all struggling. They're all listening to this podcast, which is really, really what prompted me to even start this series. And they can't get any forward motion. There's no hearings. There's no court. They're all just stuck. And they're kind of stuck married. It's when you make that decision that it's over, in some ways you want it to be over.
We're here in Georgia, and the courts were shut down for 144 days.
Right. And now they're backlogged.
Correct.
And I know that
Correct.
from being with you. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see what the numbers look like when the courts open back up and the backlog is gone away and we're running back at full steam. 2021 may actually have a higher rate than 50%.
Well, that's a little pessimistic.
Well, okay. I'm not a I'm really
Just
not.
saying.
I'm not a pessimistic person. Again, I'm going back. I have friends who are going through divorces and everything is at a standstill. They're waiting on the courts. And that is my opinion. That's why I think the 39% isn't accurate. I'm really not a pessimist. I am a realist.
I agree with you. You're not necessarily pessimistic.
No,
you're
not at all.
You're
I'm probably way more optimistic
correct. I
about
agree.
everything than I am. But when it comes to this and seeing my friends, seeing just people, my community, I own a store. So I'm around hundreds of people a week, and people love to tell me their stories, good or bad. It's my connection to people. It's why I did this podcast.
Right.
Because I realized when I was going through hard things and being an open book and being willing to talk about it, it was the glue between every single person. I'm not shy about things. I wear my emotions on my
you're not.
sleeve.
Not at all.
No. And I will never forget, I had this elderly woman, and she came in, and I didn't know her, but I was helping her at the store, and I was in the throes of heartbreak, and I said, "Oh, I'm just going through a tough time." Because when you ask how I'm doing, you're not going to get a fake answer. And I said, "Yeah, just not really working out." Gave her the brief synopsis, and she just touched me on the hand, and, "Oh, sweetie, I went through this too, and my first husband this," and I thought, there it is. All of us have a story, every single one, and there it is. And Status Life with Leta was born.
I agree. And a great show it is.
Yes.
And lots of learning from that. And speaking of which, today we have Mike.
We
the
do.
Producer on the
We
show.
have producer Mike with us today.
Well, actually, to correct you, every time you come, you have Mike.
Well,
That's
yes,
true, right.
Yes,
You're
but
just usually
I'm
not
an active
on the air with
participant
us.
in the show today.
Right.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, it's very unique to sit at this table alongside you. I'm used to being on the other side of the wall.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
What, my first show, I think you did with me, right?
No, it's Steve and Julian.
Steve.
First couple shows to kind of hold your hand, and then after that, you guys are on your own.
Well, I was so nervous. I remember thinking, I can't do this. I can't. And then I was like, all right,
Look
we're
at
good.
you.
We
Yeah.
don't need you guys. I'm all set. So, Mike, we've brought you in today because we've had so much feedback. I had a lot of questions come in through my social media, and they were directed both at Derek and at me. So I thought it would be neat to have a third party, basically speaking for everyone who asked these questions, put both Derek and I in the hot seat and basically be the interviewer.
You have given me a list of really personal questions about your relationship, which you guys have been very open with
Sure.
all year long. So this is going to be a fun show for me.
Fun for you.
Maybe
Yeah.
not so much for Derek.
Not so much for Derek.
Ironically, we had a show earlier this morning with a psychiatrist on, and she said, guys, we don't like to open up and express our feelings as much as women do.
You know,
Agreed.
I do know that. And when some of these came in and I was compiling what we were going to, and I tried to get to most of them. Some of them were asked in duplicate. So this is the top 10. Hope we get to all of them today. But I was cringing for Derek because I know him so well and I know where he's willing to go. And he's a guy. Again, it's that vulnerability. Just because I put it out there and he's the host does not mean that he wants to sit in this pocket with me. Right?
You have to admit Derek's been a great trooper this year.
Yeah, but I have to run to the car. I'll be back in about 40 minutes or so. Y'all can keep
He
going.
has been a trooper, and so much so he's so proud of himself because he walked in the station today with his protein shake from one of our past shows where we talked about health and nutrition, and we've made him talk about his New Year's resolutions, and we've talked about purging. And poor Derek has really he's had a life change here.
I'm sitting here with a protein shake, a glass of champagne, and a bottle of water.
That's right.
But no sweet tea.
Welcome to Status Life with Leta. That's what it's all. You're going to be healthy and you're going to drink champaign at noon, all at the same day.
Is this third glass of champagne for
That's
me?
yours, yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
You're only on 3?
I'll be sipping at this or chugging it.
I think we should just do a
during the show.
cheers before
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
start. All right, cheers to 1 year, you guys. Status Life with Leta. Thanks to all the listeners. Amanda's over there. Cheers too, hon.
And congratulations.
Oh, yeah. Amanda, you've got your
I
glass
poured
over there.
Amanda one, too. Yep.
Where's the bell? We need the
Yay.
bell over here.
We do.
Oh,
Absolutely.
the ding,
There we
ding,
go.
ding.
A bell in the background, the distant bell.
All right, guys. All right, Mike, we're going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, here's the questions. You guys have been very open, and that continues on this show. So, Leta,
Okay.
you mentioned you have a good relationship with your ex-husband. You just mentioned that last show. Now, the question is, if you two are so friendly, how'd you know for sure that you wanted a divorce? And before you divorced, did you even try to save the marriage?
All right. Good question. So somebody was listening and have probably heard a few shows because we've made reference to this. And this may even come on the next show. It's time to talk about it. And I will do an entire show about this because what Brian and I have is very, very unique. We are obviously divorced. We've laid the foundation for that. But let me go to the first part of that question. How did I know for sure that I wanted a divorce? And this is something that, it's so personal to say. I'm having trouble spitting it out. Brian and I had zero chemistry. Zero. We have been friends since we're kids. We are great friends. We communicate. I kind of tell people we were probably better drinking buddies when we were in our 20s than we were in a relationship. We never fought. We probably had 2 or 3 fights our entire marriage. I think a lot of people stay in a marriage for a lot worse situation than Brian and I had. But we had no chemistry. It was almost like brother and sister. And that is a big part of marriage. I just couldn't. I couldn't. As much as I still to this day love him, I love him like he's my brother. I love him. I just do. It's something that's hard to put into words, but it's more of the feeling. And before we got divorced, did we try to save the marriage? Absolutely. At that time, we had 2 small children. He felt it this was discussed. He and I sat down, we had a bottle of wine, multiple discussions, but I remember the big discussion, and we decided, of course we're going to try to save it. We've got to see if there's something there. So we made the decision to bring in a marriage counselor, and this was the tipping point for both of us. That counselor said to us, all right, I want you guys to tell me, look at each other and decide if there was ever a time in your relationship when you were just so hot and heavy, where you just couldn't keep your hands off each other. If you had that, then there's chemistry. If you can't think of that time, what you have is the business. You have a business of marriage. You're roommates, you co-parent well, you pay the bills well, you support each other. She said, I can't give you chemistry, but I can give you the tools to stay married. And we thought, and this was not immediate. I didn't want to just jump out to what I thought, and we waited and kind of looked at each other at one point towards the end of the session, and I said, what do you think? And he said, no. And I said, no. And we knew. We had the business of marriage. We did not have the chemistry of a marriage.
A friendship.
We still do. There is no difference in Brian and I today than Brian and I married. We are still friendly. I talked to him this morning. I mean, we're friendly, and we're both content, and being friendly is the best thing for our kids. But, again, there's more to dig into there, but we knew. And there was an Outback right across the street from the therapist office. And we left that appointment and we went to Outback and we had a steak dinner and we drank wine and we discussed not being married. And we're okay. We're okay. So, yes, we tried to save it. We made some adult decisions and we're okay.
All right, you mentioned kids a couple times there, Leta. What about the kids? Did you think it was better to wait until they were a little older, maybe out of the house, before you moved forward with the divorce?
Well, personally, I did not. We were both ready. We both knew that we wanted to find someone with that chemistry. It was pretty stalemate. And ours were so young. Our daughter, I think she was 1.5. It probably would have been 18 years. And we weren't willing to wait. So different. Derek, this one should come to you too. Yeah. I'm anxious to hear how you answer that. But I can speak to a lot of my friends who are all waiting. And sorry, husbands, if you're listening, you may get some bombs dropped in a couple years. But a lot of people think that that's the right answer. It wasn't for me. It wasn't.
So my answer to that has to start, though, with a foundation, and that is my divorce was nowhere near as friendly and kind and wonderful as yours turned out to be. Mine was contentious and heated and angry, and unfortunately a lot of bad blood that came from the situations that eventually led to the divorce. But as far as the kids were concerned, it was not a happy household. It was a very unsettling, uncomfortable, stressful environment, and quite frankly, kids being raised in that environment, stay married until they're adults, it would have done more harm, in my opinion. It was best to get out of the situation, even for them in that moment, than to simply maintain a marriage that's unhappy, unhealthy, and in a terrible home environment, and have the kids subjected to that. That's the only way I can put it.
And yours were younger too. It's
yeah,
not like they
were
12 and 16 where you're almost at that age where they're going to leave the house.
Sure, they were 4 and 7. I got custody, and they were with me, except for every other weekend. And then eventually, very soon after that, they were with me nonstop, full time.
I mean, that's huge in and of itself, because, here in the state of Georgia, it's very rare for the father to get custody.
Even more rare when it's a stay-at-home mom
right.
and the father works 60, 70 hours a week as a partner in a law firm at the time. But the adjustments had to be made. They were. I made the changes in not only my work schedule but my life, just to be able to accommodate being dad for a 4 and 7-year-old.
Do you have a relationship with Leta's ex-husband?
Yeah, we do. We do, actually. And I know she wants to go in depth about that later in another show. But we get along fine. We get along fine. We do. He works in the insurance industry, and we purchased a home together. He's done our insurance for us.
You purchased a home together with her ex-husband?
No. Oh. With Leta. Anyway, so we've actually gone on vacation, and he came and joined us on vacation. And interestingly enough, we had a 2-bedroom condo, and Leta and I were in one bedroom, and he was in the other. And the kids were on the couch in the family room. So
it's very friendly.
Wow. Yeah, it is. It's cordial. I mean, I have no bad blood to him. I've made the comment before. We talked about it in the last show. The fact that they're no longer together is the reason that she and I can even be together. So why would I be angry with him? They have kids, and there's the bell.
Good answer.
Thank you.
That's the right answer.
And now for the bonus question.
Well, I think it was sweet. Brian's birthday was this week.
Yeah.
And for his birthday, Derek and I took him out for a steak dinner. And he's seeing someone, and they're actually moving closer to where we are,
yeah,
so we can be closer, and we do holidays together. And
you realize how rare and
that's why
awesome
it is.
This
it's
is.
extremely well, and also too, like she said, he and the lady he's dating, they're building a house together that's close to where we are, but he still comes once a week to have dinner with the kids at now our house that Leta and I have together.
Yeah, and we'll get in because there's more to that. A lot of dads come once a week, but we used to call it family dinner, where we would all sit together once a week for the kids. So anyway, lots more there.
I was going to say, there's a lot to unpack here. I think you've got like 12 shows out of these
questions
here,
right?
But we're going to keep them short and to the point. Derek, you had mentioned that you were single for a long time after your divorce. Weren't you kind of lonely? A lot of guys, they kind of get into a relationship right away after a divorce, but you didn't do that.
Well, no,
Derek's in the hot seat.
Yes. I'm going to run to my car real quick. Can you go to the next question now? Yes, lonely. Absolutely. I mean, we're designed, I believe, as humans to have a partner in life, to have someone to rely on, a shoulder to lean on when you need it, someone to help support and prompt you to do greater and better things. But I became content to be dad. I was with my kids. Like I said, they were with me full time. But I focused on coaching every sport they played. I'd never played soccer my entire life, ever. But my daughter wanted to play soccer. So this is back in the days when you went and got a book from the library, and I learned how to coach soccer. I was a partner in a law firm. I was full-time dad. I really didn't have time to date. After the divorce also, too, I just really wasn't ready. I had a very difficult struggle getting through the divorce on a personal level, and quite frankly, I didn't want to be scarred anymore. I figured if that's what's out there, then I'd much rather focus on just being dad and take care of them and take care of myself and be an example for them, unlike the concerns I had coming from the other side, the other parent.
Were you, a lot of guys, after they go through divorce, they're like, I'm never getting married again. Did you have that go through your mind?
At first, no. But over a period of time, I kind of resigned myself to...
If that's the way it's going to be, then I'm okay with that.
Exactly. And so my divorce was many years ago. In fact, for 15 years roughly, I was completely single. Didn't really date. I would go do things with friends here and there, but no real dating relationship for a long, long period of time. And so, I kind of resigned myself to the fact I'm going to be single. And I had told Leta when we met, my plan was to retire and move to the lake and buy a house and get a boat and just sit on my deck and look at the lake every day and go out on the boat.
Boring.
Well, now that I've met you, it's very boring. Absolutely.
All right. Next question is for both of you. What is the hardest part about being divorcest?
Not it. Looking at you first.
Really?
Go. I just answered 2 in a row.
Okay. Well, the hardest part, and there are hard parts, okay? Just because we have a good relationship doesn't mean that there are not difficulties. I enjoy a break every other weekend, and I don't like a break every other weekend. It's hard to see them go. It's hard to worry about, and Brian's a great dad, but...
So we're talking about child custody.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the kids, yes. If they're traveling with their dad, you just worry about their safety because you're not there. It's a mom, kind of mama bear. Hope he watches them. Hope they're okay. Hope he puts the sunscreen on. Hope they eat enough. Hope that kind of thing. That's just going with anyone. But when you're divorced and you have to turn over your children to another human being, no matter how much you trust them, there's still that level of anxiety. That's right now probably the hardest part. We've had some other challenges. I will say the relationship that he and I have, it takes an extremely strong person to accept it. Derek is very accepting of Brian and our friendship, But he has dated women that are not so accepting, and that speaks volumes to their level of security. They're not going to come in and say, oh, here's your ex-wife. Why do you talk to her so much? Why are you over there having dinner? Why, it's like you have to be completely confident in who you are as a person to let your spouse be this close to a member of the opposite sex, no matter what the relationship is. And we've had some feather ruffled with some that he have dated. They want to puff out a little bit, and I will puff right back. There's
that's what women. That's a surprise.
That's what women do.
Yeah.
No, she wouldn't do that.
I remember this one. It's a funny story. I'll never forget it. There was one puffing big, and it got nasty for a minute. And he told her, he said, "Listen, Leta has never backed down from a fight. I assure you, this is when it comes to her children, this is not going to be what she backs down." And I didn't.
Just so we're clear, this was Brian talking, not me.
Yeah.
Brian saying this will not end well.
Yeah, that's what. Yes, forewarning. I've been in this with her I've known her my whole life. She's not going to back down when it comes to her children, and it didn't. And that girl is no longer in our life. And the woman he is with now, she is phenomenal, and she is, again, confident, and that's what it takes. Derek has that. He understands. He, befriended Brian, and we have to work as a family unit. He's family. He's going to be with me, forever because of the kids. So.
Even speaking of that too, we have moved into our new home. We have a pod in the front or in the driveway right now. And the other day he was over at the house and helped me unload stuff out of there.
Wow.
So it's friendly.
It's friendly, but challenges.
But also
there will be.
Shows your level of trust, Derek, for Leta, of course, because there's got to be that trust level there.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Because everybody has some insecurities. So same question for you. Hardest part about divorce, Derek?
Well, I am 10 years ahead of Leta in this. We've mentioned this before in prior shows. So my kids now are 22 and 19. So I've been through the stages that she's in right now. And that was when the kids would go to mom and be there. And yes, the struggle is real when you're concerned about their well-being, eating, sleeping, brushing their teeth, being safe in an environment that I personally had concerns with at the time. I mean, it's very difficult. It's a struggle. But those struggles evolve over time. Now my kids are much older because of circumstances right now. My daughter is currently living with her mom, but it's not a cordial relationship at all. We deal with certain things that have to be dealt with at times, but she doesn't come to the house and have dinner with us. We don't necessarily communicate very often. And when we do, it's only about the kids. But really the hardest part about being divorced for me was becoming a single dad when I never expected in my entire life that I would face that. I was learning how to do hair for a 7-year-old girl. And she had long hair. I was learning how to, I couldn't teach her how to put makeup on, but I had to figure out, how can I get somebody to do that for her? I could be dad for a son all day. And as I said before, I coached every sport he ever played. But my daughter was in musical theater. I can sing, okay, I guess, but I can't teach musical theater. I can't coach it. So I had to learn different things to be the dad I needed to be and wanted to be for them.
You had to be a dad mom.
Dad mom. There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A dad.
I mean, we went on multiple trips, just the kids and me. We went to Disney, honestly, 1 or 2 times a year. And that's packing luggage for a little girl and a little boy. Again, 4 and 7. And then from that point forward. So you have to learn little simple things, what to pack. The medicines, because as parents, you got to have that Tylenol, that Motrin, all those things that you better expect to have to give out because a kid will potentially get sick.
Well, we can go deeper, of course, on this subject, but in essence of time, we'll move on to the next question, and that is the fact of your faith. Of course, as your producer, I've been hearing your shows all year long, and your listeners know that you guys talk about being strong in your faith. So was it difficult to come to terms with getting a divorce, and how much was your faith a part of that decision?
You want me to go first?
You can.
Okay. Oh, I still struggle with this. I really do. This was tough for me. I felt like I said the vow. I just kept, you said the vow. You cannot unravel this. You can't unravel it just because you don't want to make out with him.
What faith did you grow up in?
I grew up Lutheran. I grew up in a Lutheran church. I grew up Methodist and Lutheran. I was very involved in two churches growing up. My parents raised me in a Lutheran church, and my very best friend next door went to the Methodist church. So if I wasn't at her church, I was at mine, and I enjoyed it. My friends were there. I mean, it was such an outlet for me growing up. It was fun. I mean, they made retreats, and we would go river rafting, and but then you have the Sundays and Sunday school, and I did confirmation and all that, communion classes. But that was difficult. I did a lot of soul searching. I did a lot of prayer, just to come to grips with the decision that I was making was okay. Still not certain that it is, but it's done. And I think that's part of the reason that I keep Brian so close and we have such a good relationship, because it makes me feel better about not being married. It's like if on some level we are happy and we are still a family, then in some way I'm honoring that vow.
Derek?
Well, I could take an hour to talk about this, but basically my dad was a preacher for 50 years. So I grew up in the church. I'm one of those that from birth all the way through had perfect attendance for Sunday school because we had one car and Dad had to preach. And so we got up in the morning. We were there from the first service all the way till after the noon service got out, or the 11 o'clock service got out, and then back Sunday night and then Wednesday night for family dinners. And so I grew up very deep-seated in my faith, and ultimately when things started to happen in my marriage and it evolved around adultery, I consulted with and confided in my preacher at the time. My dad had long since retired, and it's uncomfortable as a son to go to your dad, even though he's a preacher. So I went to my preacher at the church I was attending at the time and met with him multiple times, and scripturally went through the justification for divorce, which in the book of Matthew, not to get too deep, adultery is accepted in the eyes of Christ for divorce. And so I became at peace with that decision. As Leta struggled, I did too, but it gave me the justification scripturally to make that decision. So it was not something that I simply passed off and skated through. I counseled many times with my preacher just to, I hate to say get his blessing, but come to a better understanding in my faith as to why it was justified.
Do I get to award points for the best answer between you two?
Was his better?
That was a good answer, Derek. I got to give you
He's
credit.
very articulate.
Well, thank you. I did read what you wrote, so hopefully.
Shh, don't give away all those secrets.
Oh, sorry.
Leta, chance for you to catch up here.
Oh, thanks.
You just mentioned in the last show that you had a relationship that didn't work out after your divorce. Mm-hmm. Looking back now, do you consider that having been a serious relationship, or do you think maybe that was more of a rebound?
I saw this one come in, and I went, I don't want to talk about this. But we're here to talk about it all.
I've been on the hot seat enough.
I know. It was both. That's the honest answer. It was both. It became a rebound because it didn't work out. I think coming out of a marriage where it was lacking passion but had friendship, that's what I was looking for. It's like I was just looking for something different. I was looking for some kind. I didn't know I was looking for it. I mean, it's kind of subconscious, right? I wasn't out I want something else. That wasn't absolutely not the case. But it was a friend. And over time it evolved into something more. Discussed it with Brian, and because that's how I do things. On a little sidebar, Brian was the one who encouraged me to date Derek. Actually, he was the one that kind of gave me the go. I told him I had met someone and I still wasn't wanting to date, and it was Brian who really was like, "No, give him a shot." And here we are. So he gets some credit.
I still write him checks every week.
Yeah, well. Anyway, I just
wait. He's an attorney. I may need one of those.
Yeah,
yeah. Date him.
I don't know. Looking back, again, it didn't work out. So on some level, it could have been the rebound. But we were together a significant amount of time. I thought it was serious. We each had young kids, so we were in the kids' lives. It was hard. It was hard to have that breakup and have another unraveled relationship. So having two in a row, I talked about this in the last show, was really why I was done. I wasn't looking. I was 100% reserved that I didn't even want to date. I was just done. I was just going to be friendly with Brian. We would raise our kids. I had my home, had some cats. And I, had my
It still
work,
has the
had
cats.
status, had my career. I was in friends. I spend all this time with my girlfriends. They're, closest sisters to me. And out of nowhere, I met Derek, and everything changed. So both was the answer.
Great. Well, next question here, Derek. It's directed to you, but I think you've kind of talked about this and talks about asking if you have a good relationship with your ex after all these years. Is there really anything else more that you need to add?
No, not really. I mean, again, a good relationship, it's not as hostile as it has been potentially in the past. All right, I'm getting the motion to send this to Leta.
No, I want some credit here.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Oh, okay.
I thought she was going to answer for you.
No,
Yes.
I'm like, hey, why is this good now?
Sure. She
Did she
has
give you some advice?
Absolutely. She's also played the role of mediator. She's
There we go.
calmed the storm at times for me in responding negatively to things that may have happened or have happened. But she's also encouraged me to try and reach out at times to try and mend a little bit of, I hate to say relationship, but mend a little bit of the storm, so to speak. So it's not anywhere near as hostile as it's been in the past. And it was very brutal there for a period of time. But so the answer is no. It was not a good relationship, but it's getting better.
It's getting better.
It's getting better. She, too, is dating someone, and I think that helps tremendously. I'm happy for her. I would want for her to have somebody in her life. So it's getting better, but it's not anywhere near the same kind of relationship that Leta has with Brian.
Right.
When I met Derek and we first started dating, of course, you don't unpack all this on your first date. And we did take things very slow. So this, he would discuss things.
Just so you know, if you do unpack it on the first date, that's probably going to be the last date.
I was going to
Correct.
say that.
Correct.
That's right. You'll get a different phone number than the real one.
But it was so hostile, they were blocked in each other's phones. I mean, they didn't even acknowledge
And
that
email,
each other
and Facebook,
existed.
and-
yeah, and so very slowly, we have begun unpacking this just to be cordial, to talk about your children. You had a marriage. On some level, I don't think you're ever going to have the relationship Brian and I do, but, I have tried to reach out and be friendly with her, and I hope it's helped.
Yep.
I like her.
My son's graduation, she went to lunch with us.
Yeah, baby steps,
yeah.
baby steps. And the credit, and I joke about it, but I really don't feel like if I was there, that would have ever happened. I feel like you guys
No.
would have fought on who was taking Matthew. And
No, there are many instances where the people, you can't even be in the same
I
room
know,
with your ex.
I
So
know.
the fact that you can, that's good.
baby
Yeah,
steps.
and the word is venom. I mean, there was venom there for a long period of time.
Right.
All right. Well, we've heard about the divorces. You've gone through those tough times and the divorces. Now you've found each other. How do you know that this is the real thing?
Your
I
turn.
tell her all
Go,
the time.
Not it.
You just moved in together.
Well, I kind of mentioned this earlier. You want someone in your life you can lean on, you can rely on, you can trust, that's going to push you to be better, to do better, someone who's going to encourage every move you make and every thought you have, someone in your corner nonstop, someone who will be that inspiration for going to work every day, and the one that you want to honestly spend the rest of your life with in every capacity. We have bought a home together. I enjoy walking in the door at the end of the day and seeing her. I enjoy conversations. And we've joked about this before. We talk for hours and hours. When I leave the house to go to work in the morning, it's a 40-plus minute drive now. And typically within the first 2 or 3 minutes after leaving, we're on the phone. And we talk all the way till I get to work. And then when I leave work in the afternoon, I'm on the phone again, and we chat the whole way back. But we feed very well off of each other. We're like-minded in our faith. We're like-minded in our understanding and appreciation of a relationship. We also, too, are very like-minded in being entrepreneurial in nature, and we both strive to do our best in every way we can.
You just described a soulmate.
And she's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, there's that.
That
too.
helps too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Leta, this is the real deal here.
He's so sweet. I mean, how could you not? I bet women listening to this are just melting right now.
I'm
like,
melting right now too.
"Oh,
And
I wish my
Sorry,
husband
Mike, you don't have a
talked that
chance,
way
but-
about me.
Hate to break it to you.
Yeah. How do we know? There's such an ease to our relationship, and having
but
had
there was an
some
ease in your first marriage, and it was a friendship.
different.
Okay.
No, just because there's a friendship, there was no chemistry. It's different. It's a different feeling. It really is. He challenges me. He's very, very smart. And
I'm sorry, say that again.
You're very smart. Derek is
With more feeling and
Well,
louder.
I don't know.
You want
I
the
said
bell?
it twice. Yes, he wants the bell. Okay.
There you go.
My God. It's just, there's something that we talk so much, and it's, people are probably like, oh my goodness, that's a lot. But again, we're setting up our day. We're talking about business, a lot of different things.
We don't argue over who's going to cook or who's going to do the laundry or the dishes.
We jump in and we help where it's needed. But that's the day-to-day life. That's the business aspect of it. And that's brand new for us because we've just moved in together. But on a we're very equal. I like to be challenged. I like to sit with someone that, I don't care if we're talking about faith, if we're talking about politics, if we're talking about raising our kids.
You both have full careers too, where you guys are headstrong into your businesses.
Absolutely.
I understand what it means to be an employer.
Yeah, that's
I understand what it means to take that leap in opening your own business. I mean, there's so many things that we have done separate from each other that now allow us to be that much closer together.
Yeah, there's a lot that's very equal. And I mean, trust me, there are things that we are not the same on.
And you do argue, I assume, once in a while.
Not really.
No, not very
Not
often.
really.
No. Well, no.
Have we? I
don't
can't even
think so.
think of an argument.
Because I know I won't win. I mean, why would
Well, that is very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, no, we just don't. I mean, yes, we've had differences of opinions on things. I've probably hung up on you once or twice in the years that we've been together, but that's just me because I get hot and I have a fiery Italian personality.
I was going to say the Italian side.
But, I mean, we are different. You know, you like rock and roll.
Yes.
I
You're
like
a little
90s hip hop.
country? Is
you
like
know?
Donnie Marie
I'm
here?
not country, no. I mean, I used to teach breakdancing and hip hop. Like, I owned a, and Derek sang in a rock band. Like, music is different. We're from different generations. I am more neat and orderly.
I lived on the beach and carried a
Derek's
surfboard.
a little messier than I am.
Well, then let me ask you, because one of the questions here is, what are some of the challenges that you guys face in that relationship?
Well, we're sort of moving right into that, right?
Yeah.
Derek, what are some challenges that we face?
Well, there are always going to be challenges in every relationship. I think parenting is probably at the top of that list because there's a difference in age. I mentioned that earlier. My oldest is roughly 10 years older than her oldest. My youngest is roughly 10 years older than her youngest. So I'm at a different phase in parenting with my children than she is with hers. But we do have different parenting styles. I mean, no two people are really ever going to have the exact same parenting style when it comes to kids. We both, challenges, she doesn't really have any of those traits that are annoying. Sometimes in relationships, people will talk about, well, my husband's so annoying or my wife is so annoying. I hate that they do this or I hate that they do that. It bothers me so much. I can't say that about her. She doesn't really, do anything that to me annoys me or bothers me or challenges me to tolerate that. I guess you could say it.
Except I have 3 cats.
Well, okay, now that you brought that up, we're going down a different path now.
Yeah.
There are 3 cats, and I'm someone who has always been allergic to cats. But now I'm living in a home with 3 cats, one of which loves to sleep on my head in the bed.
I know. Anyway, these are funny, like little things. He's a dog person. I'm a cat person, and his dog now lives with my parents. So,
well,
I'm just saying.
Temporarily, while we're getting the house, we've got work going on.
Bad negotiating skills, Mr. Attorney.
We'll see.
Survival.
It's funny. It's blending. Yes, we are having a lot of construction on the house. The cats will go hide. So.
And the dog would run
challenges, out the door. That's probably the number one. It's not financial. It's not you work too much. It's not you do or don't pull your weight around the house. It's not faith. I want to go to church. You don't. Those things, we all hit those markers. But we are in different phases. His kids are older, and if I have opinion on the way something should or shouldn't be done, do I have a say? I'm not even a step parent, that kind of, we're navigating it, but I think we're doing a really good job.
Yeah, I think so.
His daughter and I have a phenomenal relationship. She works for me at my store, and I got to know Matthew a lot better over the break. He lived with us while he was home from college. So, we're getting there.
Well, you're not officially a step parent yet.
No,
so
I'm
the question is, will there be wedding bells in the future? Will there be a marriage?
We need the dun, dun, dun. Derek, not it. Look at him squirm.
I did leave something in the car. Speaking of which, I'll be back. No, absolutely. if you ask me the question, Nick, I'd be a fool not to. Yeah,
right.
yes.
I say, if you're not going to marry her, I will.
There you
Yeah,
go.
well,
Because I'm not annoying.
I was going to say your wife might have something to say about that, but there is that. No, of course. Yes, absolutely. I believe we're running full speed down that path.
We talked about it. I think the house really came before. I don't even know how that happened. I think COVID changed a lot of things because we've looked at rings and we've talked. I mean, we've spent time at the America's Mart. Like we're adults. This is not when you're in your 20s and the ring comes out of the pocket and you have no idea. Like we've been married. We've been divorced. That's what this whole show was about.
Wait, we've been married. We got divorced. Not you and I divorced.
No, right.
Yes.
We've been divorced from each other. I mean, we're adults.
Correct. And so, yes, we're heading down that path. Absolutely. As long as she'll have me, I guess. But that's to be determined.
Well, you got to ask, and then we'll see what happens.
Don't know the answer till the question comes.
Well, there's no more questions, but I will just wrap this up by saying,
well, I will say time out real quick.
What?
Okay.
As an attorney, the number one rule is you never ask a question unless you know the answer first.
Okay.
So there's the purpose of waiting. Got to make sure I know the answer first.
Of course. Well, I think you guys have both hit a home run.
Well, thank you.
And, it's been a pleasure. Congratulations on 1 year of Status Life with Leta.
Well, thank you for Business Radio X and having me and hosting Status Life with Leta.
You mentioned,
what an honor.
Well, the divorce allowed you to find Derek, so you were happy that it went. Well, the divorce allowed me to find Derek through a mutual friend because he put himself into coaching.
Yeah.
He coached with one of my
right.
good friends, and that's the bond that Derek and I have is our coaching. And so, so I'm glad you got divorced too.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, I mean, that's really interesting. Through the chain of events, we're all sitting at this table.
Well, he may not have been coaching as much or been as involved. He said he put his kind of put his time and energy into that.
And I hope by saying all this and telling you guys our story, and thank you for your questions. Feel free if you have more. Status Life with Leta. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. You can submit anything, right? Send me more messages. And if there's more to unpack, we will continue and we will unpack. But we're going to talk about the divorce. We talked about it a lot today because you can't talk about where you're going unless you really look at where you've been. I have been asked many, many times, and you guys can see why, because it was very amicable, and people going through hard divorces want to know, how did you do it? How did you do it? So lots more to talk about. But again, just thank you for this platform, for giving me this voice.
Well, if you found this interesting today, just stay tuned for another year full of
That's right.
Insight.
A lot more to come.
Stuff.
A lot more to come. Well, before we do close today, tell everybody how to find you.
Well, I just mentioned that I'm on all social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not on Twitter. I don't know anything about that. But I own a retail store here in Metro Atlanta. It's called the Shops at Status. You can find that on all social media platforms. I own an interior design firm called Status Home Design. Take a look at what all my designers are doing. And my blog, Status Life with Leta.
Well, thank you again, and thank you all so much for joining us on Status Life with Leta, presented by Status Home Design and the law office of Derek M. Hayes. Don't forget that you can enjoy any of our episodes anytime by visiting businessradiox.com, selecting the Gwinnett Studio, and then clicking on Status Life with Leta. This program is also available in your favorite podcast app. Until next time, for Leta Brooks, I'm Derek Hayes, and you've been listening to Status Life with Leta on Business Radio X.